What's up, everybody? You are tuned in to the Medical Minute with ER Dr. Jess. We are back here this week discussing topics that matter to you. As I state every week, my goal with this show is to shine some light on topics that matter to you. Just as a reminder, I record every Wednesday at 2 p.m. at the University of Houston. So if you have any questions, please stop by Coug Radio Station on the second floor of the UC North, or hit me up at ER Dr. Jess on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. That's ERDR Jess, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. So this summer, I took a poll from college students at universities across the U.S. on topics that matter to them. One of the topics that students wanted to hear about was how to maintain a healthy school work-life balance. Being that I have been a student almost twice as long as I've been a doctor, I definitely think this is a topic that I can speak to and give, little tidbits of advice on, and hopefully my information isn't too outdated. I've been out of school for a little while, but I think most of the tools that I use throughout college and medical school still apply. So I really like to start this conversation by discussing burnout. The issue here is that burnout is a real thing. And if you have not heard of it, burnout is a term that's used to describe like emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It usually occurs when you feel overwhelmed or like emotionally drained and just unable to meet like just the constant demands of your daily life. This is something that doesn't occur just with college students. It actually occurs with people in all different parts of life and throughout various professions. And it often results from not being able to balance some of the items that we're going to discuss here today. So, This is a serious issue for many young college students, and it can oftentimes have a negative effect on your grades, on your relationships, your mental health overall, period. And there are many articles and studies that have listed burnout as one of the top 10 reasons that students actually drop out of school. So definitely something that you want to at least know the definition of and know something about. So being able to recognize signs of burnout and apply the tools needed to give yourself a break so that you can help yourself is probably one of the best things that you can do to help maintain a healthy work, school, social life balance. So in this episode, we will go over different items you can put in your mental toolbox for safekeeping. That way, when you need them, you can use them. So topic number one, prioritize your classes. This is something that should actually start the day you start registering for classes. Number one, you need to know the classes needed for your degree plan early on in your academic career. I highly recommend you sit down with your career or your academic advisor early as possible or as soon as possible. This will allow you to really identify what courses are needed for you to graduate with the degree you're seeking. The earlier you do this, the better you're able to plan out your academic map. If you have not done this yet and you are a sophomore or a junior listening to this, don't stress about it. Just make an appointment as soon as you can with your advisory team so you could go over your academic degree plan to see what it is that you still need, what have you taken, like kind of where you stand so you could, make the best decisions possible going forward. This is really what they're there for. They're there to help you. So with achieve academic success. So see them as soon as possible so they can help you. Number two, use the online. This is all under, of course, prioritizing your classes still. So two, use online resources, word of mouth from your friends, etc., to determine like what classes are the tougher classes, which classes are going to require like a lot more time, who has the toughest professors, which ones are going to give you a whole lot more workload versus, classes that might not have as much, might not require as much of your time. When I was in college, there was this website that came out that was called like Rate My Professor or Rate My Teacher or something like that. And I'm sure they still have this site, out. I'm sure it's evolved by now. If nothing else, something else has probably come out that's way better. Probably have an app out there that you guys can use to really determine what classes are going to require the most energy out of you. I would definitely say, use those classes to help you determine, what classes to put together versus, which classes you can maybe pair with easier classes. Like you don't want to just stack 12 hours or 14 hours worth of really tough classes that are going to require a lot of time all on top of each other. You want to kind of try to balance that out. Number 3, when I was in school, I would, especially at the beginning of my academic career, I got a piece of paper out and I literally mapped out my whole 4 years based on, from the day that I started all the way to the day that I was supposed to graduate. And I put fall, and I'm telling you how old I am now. So I put fall 2002, spring 2002, then fall 2003, spring 2003. And I literally listed, like I said, I went and talked to my advisor, my career advisor, and we went over that academic map or that degree plan. And I was able to really look at what classes I needed and what classes I could put in to kind of fill that space. And I literally wrote down, okay, I want to take about 12 to, 14, 15 hours or so a semester, and what classes I was going to take for fall 2002, spring 2002, fall 2003, spring 2003, and, whether I was going to stick a winter semester in there or a summer session or something like that. I would definitely recommend, sitting down and really mapping that out to really just be able to see what is going to be required of you each semester in order to get where you're trying to go. The more you plan and the more of a idea you have of what is going to be required each semester, it takes a lot of stress off as you're actually going through the motions and as you're actually going through the classes. So definitely make plans early on so you can, tackle them. Know when you are best, when your cognitive ability is at its peak. So if you're a morning person, obviously sign up for morning classes. If you're not a morning person and you always had a hard time waking up at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., don't do that to yourself. You're setting yourself up for failure. I would sign up for the 12 p.m. or the 1 p.m. class. I was a morning person, so I signed up for morning classes. A lot of my friends who, we all started college together, I know that you come in as a freshman, you see academic advisor, and they try to put you all in these same classes, this 8, 9, 10 a.m. classes, but not everybody was making it to those classes. And that's where a lot of people messed up in the beginning, is not really knowing what they're capable of and knowing when they thrive the most, but not really setting themselves up for the best outcome. So if you know that you're not a morning person, don't sign up for morning classes. If you're an afternoon person, sign up for the afternoon classes. Study in the afternoon. If you're a morning person, stack your schedule accordingly. After prioritizing classes, I would say the next most important thing is to be friends with people who are focused. So I have quite a few nieces and nephews in college, and I've given a number of speeches to high school and college age students about how to succeed in college. And this topic is always at the top of my list of ways to succeed and ways to get to successfully get to where you're going. The term birds of a feather flock together literally couldn't be more important in college. An interesting fact here, though, is that in order to maintain balance, which is, kind of what we're talking about right now, is I personally think it's important to actually hang out with two different groups of birds when you're talking about the topic of birds of a feather flock together. You have a group of friends that are focused on similar goals. Like if you're pre-med, hang out with pre-med. If you're pre-dental, engineering, law, whatever, communications, journalism, education, hang out with those people who within that group of people who are focused on their goals and focused on and serious about getting to where they're trying to go. But you should also have, your social group that you go to decompress and get out of that stressful environment. For some people, that's going to be like sororities or fraternities, your dorm mates, family, if your family is in the area, or friends in the area. I think it's important to have, both sets of groups to really, one, focus, but when it's time to hang out and decompress and you don't want to hear about, your placement exams. For some people, it's like the MCAT or the LSAT or whatever. It is important to be able to hang out with people and be away from that environment to decompress. So I would say this allows you to spend time with other people who are serious about their academic career. If you're hanging out with the right people within that group, like I said, pick folks that are serious about their studying, serious about their academic career. One thing that I do tell my family and students that I talk to with is to be cautious being around high intensity people all the time, because that anxiety and that anxious nervous energy has a tendency to rub off on the people around them. So unfortunately, though, some people that are like that are sometimes the most focused and the most driven. So they are great study partners, but you just have to learn how to, take them in smaller doses, or they can like literally drive you insane with that transfer of anxiety and nervous energy. And I'm not ashamed to say I'm probably one of those. When I was in college, I was probably one of those people with the nervous energy and the anxiousness about like the upcoming big test and the pre-placement exams. But I definitely studied with people who were more intense than me and may have probably hung out with them more than I should have. So I'm warning you, don't do what I did. Definitely break away, decompress, and hang out with people who aren't in your field. Number 3, I would say, of course, use your resources. So I remember when my dad dropped me off to college, I remember him telling me, you can either go to college or you can go to college. And I knew exactly what he meant by that. He meant like you could either go to college and just to say you're in school and go through the motions, or you can go to college and use every single resources that is available to you, that your tuition is already paying for. And I remember when I was in school, I was a biology major. In addition to our regular classes, there used to be something called SI. I think it stood for like supplemental instruction or something like that. And SI would last like maybe 30 to 45 minutes, and it would be led by one of the TAs for the course. I think they had it like maybe 2 or 3 times a week, maybe. In this SI, they would break down all the details from the lecture. They would give you a lot of helpful tips for the exam, how to approach the exam, how to approach the questions. And there would probably be, I would say, about 200 people in the regular class and maybe 20 people in SI. And the 20 people in SI graduated at the top of the class. I'm not saying you have to attend things like SI or tutoring in order to graduate at the top of your class, but I am saying the more you use your resources that are available to you, the better chance you give yourself to succeed. The folks leading the supplemental classes, like the tutoring and all of these, SI similar type programs, serve as a bridge between you and your professor. And by that, I mean, they know what the test, what's going to be on the test. They know what to tell you. That, I mean, they're not cheating, of course, but they know what to tell you to focus on. And they keep you from, wasting time elsewhere. So with that said, there are a lot more resources than just SI, or the supplemental instruction, the tutoring. I know here at University of Houston, you guys have the writing lab and all of the math lab, all kinds of great resources available to you. Don't take those for granted. Definitely take advantage of those. I mean, you're already paying for them. 4, have a designated study time and know when you study the best. So like I said, when I was in college, I approached this in a similar fashion to how I recommended you guys approach prioritizing your classes. Like every semester after I got my classes and put them, on my calendar, I sat down and looked at assignments listed in my syllabus. And then I looked at, what times I actually, quote, had free on my calendar. For example, like if I'm a morning person and I made a point to do all of my dense or heavy studying during the morning hours. This included like dense readings, like thick, long, heavy biology topics like the Krebs cycle, or different concepts like the Krebs cycle, meiosis, mitosis, stuff just that took a lot, as you're looking at them for the first time, took a lot of time to really get the concept and all of those things that are long papers, things like that. Any light reading or things that was just like memorization, I threw on some flashcards and kind of sprinkled that between the heavy studying, or reviewed when I was between classes or had free time. Which brings me actually to another point. So put your phone down. The answers to your tests are not on Instagram, Snapchat, or Facebook, or Twitter, or maybe they are nowadays. I don't know what people are using social media for, but you guys pretty much know what I mean by that. So what I'm trying to say is don't waste your time. It's so easy to like hop on Facebook, and look up in 2 hours, an hour or two has just gone by of you looking at cat videos or whatever is out the world. I don't know what people look at on the internet. But it's easy to, lose track of time just looking at nothing. And I'm not saying don't have a period where you don't do nothing, because it is important to decompress and, just kind of have a mental break and just kind of fall into your nothing box and just play on your phone. But it's like everything else, I do recommend you plan it out and determine when that time is going to be, so that you don't end up spending too much time in your nothing box and wasting time. If you're a morning studier, utilize the greater front portion of your day, studying, and then schedule an hour or so in the evening to just fall into your nothing box and do nothing. If you're an evening studier, use the first part of your day, in your nothing box, and then focus and study the later half of your day. Basically, it's, what I'm saying is it's important to give your brain a break, but no, you even have to, just like you schedule studying, just like you schedule your classes, you also have to schedule, giving yourself a break. Make time to exercise. So it's talking about breaks. So this is like an active break, not just a break where you do nothing, but an important break nonetheless. There's been a number of research studies that have proven over and over again that two things needed most to maintain health and improve your cognition. Cognition means how well your brain functions, is sleep and exercise. So how do you do this when you're in class half the day, you have to study and try to fit work in somewhere also? So when I was in college, I definitely struggled with this. And honestly, it's still something I struggle with prioritizing, to this day. There have been times in my life when I've done this right, and there have been times where I have failed miserably at this. When I was in college, I discovered about halfway through that there are actually exercises classes that you can actually take for credit. So I scheduled, when I discovered this, I scheduled a Monday, Wednesday, Friday exercise class as the last day of my academic day, so that I wouldn't have to go to, class all smelly. And I was able to get an hour of cardio in 3 days a week. And if I was really feeling good, I'd stay and do some weightlifting and things like that after my little cardio class, and then go home, take a shower, and, get back in the books, or take a nap and then get back in the books, depends on how I was feeling. But I can tell you, I felt better. I lost weight. I was alert. My skin was glowing. just kidding. But it was really, a good use of my time, and I remember that being just a really good time that semester, a couple semesters that I did the exercise class, or literally built that into my schedule. And if you're like me and you have time, have difficult time prioritizing, work and throwing physical activity into the mix of your daily, life, I definitely recommend looking into trying to just maybe consider an exercise class in your schedule for the spring. I think it might be too late for the fall, but definitely consider it for the spring. It won't be a lot of credits, and more than likely it won't go towards your degree plan, but I guarantee it will add value to your life and improve your ability to excel in your other classes, and give you, maybe even a little GPA boost, because all you have to do is show up, sweat, and you'll more than likely get an A. So definitely consider this idea. It's something that I definitely wish I would have taken more advantage of in college. I did it maybe 2 or 3 times, but I should have probably built it in probably every semester that I was in college. I think I could have been a lot more effective. 6, make social plans in advance. Basically meaning schedule your days off in advance by using, your syllabus to determine when you have breaks. So if you've been listening to me ramble on over the past 15 minutes or so, you would think that, I went through college and all I did was study, play on Facebook from time to time, and try to exercise, which actually couldn't even be farther from the truth. Me and my friends definitely turned up all the way through college. We had a really good time. We went to parties, we went shopping, we made, time to just veg out watching whatever the latest, reality show marathon was on TV. Because we didn't have it, live streaming to our phones back then. But we didn't do it often, but we definitely did. And what worked for us was was just setting goals and then rewarding ourselves with whatever we wanted after we met that goal. So if most of our tests and big papers, we're all pretty much due on this, 4-week cycle. So even though I have friends who were in different majors and were taking different classes, we all pretty much had, our major test and papers due within the same week. When the test week was over, we would hit whatever like the hottest party or hottest club was that weekend. We would party, hang out all weekend, go to church on Sunday, and then just plan to do it all over again the next 4 weeks. I'm just gonna be honest with you. You can't party every weekend and expect to graduate with this just glowing, amazing transcript. You just can't do it. You're gonna have to make some sacrifices along the way, but that doesn't mean that your college experience has to be miserable. So definitely work hard and play hard. Next, work ahead, don't procrastinate. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because not only is it pretty much self-explanatory, I'm sure your professors and your career advisors have said this, same thing to you, gave you pamphlets on it, send you emails on it, and just everything else. So get your syllabus, check when your assignments are due, put them on your calendar, give yourself plenty of time to complete all your assignments. The less time you give yourself, the more you're going to stress about it, and the less opportunity you're gonna give yourself to do as well as you possibly can on that assignment. So don't do it to yourself. It's not necessary and it's preventable. So all you have to do is, plan it out. Next, be able to say no. So this has to do with basically sacrifice. So like I said earlier, you aren't going to be able to go to every party or every event in the same, thought. You aren't going to be able to hold every, officer or leadership position in every social club because, of course, leadership opportunities come with increased responsibility and increased projects and just other things that are going to take you away from the true goal of college, which is to come to college, do your assignments, do well on your assignments, do well in your exams, and do as best as you can, get the best GPA you can, and ultimately get a great job or get into graduate school or whatever it is that you're seeking. So even as a member of a social club, you may be asked to, lead projects, complete projects, for the club. The ability to say no is a powerful thing and can really save you a lot of stress down the line. So don't overcommit yourself, especially this early in the game. I know they had all of these different, get involved fairs, which is really fun and all of it sounds really great. Just don't overcommit yourself, take it all. You have four years here to, experience all these different things. So there's only one of you, and all those extracurricular things is not what's going to get you a degree. So be cautious of that. Where to work? So I've gotten this question a lot from some of the college students around campus and even some of my family members who've recently started college over the last couple of years about, they said, I need a job. I have to supplement my, my financial aid somehow, but, how do I kind of fit it all in? So just a simple answer to that, I'm gonna give you the long and the short answer, is places where you can study. That's where you want to work. When I was in college, when I was a college student, I worked actually as a home health care provider. And my responsibilities included like making sure the patient had, their meals and their snacks, bathing them, helping them to get to the bathroom, washing hair, a little bit of light cleaning, which was like just a bonus. That wasn't really anything that was required. But a majority of my time was spent, just sitting in the room with my patient who slept 90% of the day. And while I, sat there with them, I would be able to do my homework or study flashcards or, do some reading. This was just the perfect job. My sister, she was in college at the same time. She worked at like an information or check-in desk at one of like the building's apartments, local building apartments. And the majority of her time was spent, just sitting also. So she was able to do, her homework and study and just kind of be productive while she was on the job, which was great. And I mean, the list goes on. I had tons of friends who, was able to say they had found, some opportunity or job somewhere where they were able to study. So obviously I can't tell you to go find a job and entertain your own interest on the job. But if that opportunity, presents itself, be smart as a student, apply for jobs that will potentially allow you the opportunity to read or study while you're there. I mean, you're still doing your job, but you're also, able to potentially benefit your own interests. So, of course, this doesn't apply to, those jobs where you are, doing the job and you plan to continue with that company after you graduate. This, I definitely don't recommend this, but I don't recommend benefiting your own interests while you're on the job if you're at a position where, of course, you're planning on continuing after college is over. So, but I do recommend, making the most of your time. So, I mean, as you can tell, most of the most common theme throughout this episode is to maintain balance. You really have to truly learn how to plan ahead, prioritize, use your resources, and take time to, decompress, in moderation, of course. Use all your resources, prepare yourself with tools that you need in advance. And, you got this. You can do it for sure. If I can do it, anybody can. So, unfortunately, that's our time for today. But as usual, you guys can hit me at Dr. Jess on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. That's at ERDRJess with any questions you may have. Tune in next week. We will be answering all your questions on marijuana, vaping, and cigarette smoking. Have a great week.